Okay, so Kaushik, let's proceed ahead with the snap on material management for NMDC. So here we go. Kaushik, tell me what do you understand by material management?
Sir, material management is a discipline that is associated with controlling, organizing, and planning the flow of material in and out of an organization. Sir, in NMDC, it is a very important support department that is associated primarily tasked with first the procurement of material through proper channels, the second being to manage the inventory, and third being to deal the scrap off from the organization.
Okay. So what do we understand by inventory?
Sir, inventory is basically a stock of material that is present in hand that is stored to either be used at the later point of time or to be sold.
So inventory is something which is good or bad?
Sir, inventory is something that is required, sir. It cannot be directly categorized upon good or bad as per me, sir, because for some instances it can be good. For example, sir, a sudden breakdown occurs in a particular plant, then we would be requiring the spares available at hand. For that, we need to maintain inventory. And but to maintain those inventory, there is certain additional cost associated with it. So it can be adding up to the cost. So from that perspective, it can be bad, but it is necessary, sir.
Okay, so we talk about optimum level of inventory. What do we understand by optimum level of inventory?
Sir, optimum level of inventory is a balance between the inventory cost, that is the holding cost and the ordering cost, and also the cost that will be associated if there will be any shortages of inventory. So in order to actually reduce the total inventory cost, we can particularly hold the inventory up to a certain level so that the cost of the organization gets minimized, but it doesn't hamper the operations of that particular organization or a unit.
Okay.
So that is the optimum inventory level.
Okay, how it is related to what we call as forecasting?
Sir, forecasting is actually prediction methods that are used to predict what amount of demand for any particular component or raw material will be present. So based upon the forecasting, we can decide any future procurement of that particular material. So we need forecasted data so that we can prepare our resources of the organization for the given procurement.
So if the demand forecasting is done very accurately, let us say, then how it impact the inventory?
Sir, if the demand forecasting is done very accurately, then the need of keeping buffer stocks will be negligible. So we actually know what precise amount of material will be requiring. So we can actually reduce the safety stock or buffer stock. So this will reduce the inventory cost. So only that particular amount can be exactly procured.
Okay, as a material manager, what do you think is going to be the most challenging task for you?
Sir, as a material manager, sometimes there might be such situation where a particular spare part is required by a functional by any department, and that spare part is out of circulation of the market. I think at that particular case, I will need to either do reverse engineering from them, and based upon that, I will need to pick manufacturers who will be willing enough to produce that component for the organization. So that can be a major challenge for sourcing such materials.
Okay. One thing is procuring the material, Another thing is the procuring quality material. How do you ensure that the material you are procuring is a quality material?
Sir, usually, sir, in case of critical materials or components, there is a restricted tender in which only the pre-qualified vendors are allowed to bid upon. So this checking of pre-qualified vendors also includes a quality compliance check that we only allow those vendors or those contractors to supply the material who have past experiences or certain accreditations of quality. So we can check it at that point, and even after the delivery, we can get it checked by the department who will be using that material, and based upon that only we will allow the material to be used.
Okay. So Kaushik, let me ask you this way. Since the material which we want to procure, that largely we procure from supplier or vendors, so which one is more important factor while selection of the vendor? His capability or authenticity?
There is authenticity, sir. I think I will prefer to have an authentic vendor, sir.
How do you choose the vendor?
Sir, we will basically, sir, the choosing of vendor first. After they have submitted the tender document, we will check their background. If they have any past experiences, we can learn from their past experiences, and along with that, the degree of satisfaction they have provided to any such customer in the previous instance. And also, sir, we need to give the cost an important factor, because we need to secure that vendor that is that makes us very much in a comfortable place to means for example, if I consider three vendors, the one with the lowest price and the required level of quality will be chosen, sir.
Okay, how many vendors will you call for bidding process or tendering process?
Sir, that process, how many vendors will be called, sir, it depends upon because after we have published the tender, it is published usually on that government e-marketplace website, and any vendor, if it is an open tender, sir, anybody can actually bid on that. So based upon that, I will have to shortlist, and if it is a restricted tender, sir, it depends how which tenderers are which.
In government domain, how many minimum vendors you need to invite for the process?
Sir, I'm not aware of that, sir.
Okay, do you know what is conflict of interest?
Yes, sir, I understand what is conflict.
Tell me that.
Sir, in case of conflict of interest, for example, if an employee is working for an organization and the in any particular circumstance when he is working, there must arise that his own interest and the interest of the organization gets conflicted. In such situations, there can be a conflict of interest. Can I provide
any idea about bill of material?
Sir, bill of material is a particular list that gives us the raw material amount, the number of parts, and the sub assemblies that is required to make a finished product.
What is the significance of that?
Sir, when we need to procure any item, then there is a software there is a tool known as material requirement planning, sir. So bill of material is a one of the most important input that allows us to decide, as per the required production of any given quantity, given item, that which component we require in what amount. So based upon that only we can move on to the procurement.
What are the various informations provided on bill of material? Cost, specifications, suppliers details, what are provided?
Sir, it is the material, the specification, and the cost is actually, sir, not provided on the bill of material, sir. It is only the specification, the quantity that will be required, and the material or the subcomponent name, sir.
Okay, Kaushik, let me give you the feedback of this much part. What we will do is we will be having multiple snaps on material management, so with others also and with you also. So what we discussed was like inventory. Just read everything about inventory, models of inventory, just in time. Inventory is a necessary evil, right? You need to maintain it. Why you need to maintain? Because
Yes,
stock out situation should not be there. Because if there is a stock out situation, then you cannot provide the service to the customer, and that will hamper the quality of the company. So service to the customer is very important, and inventory plays a very important role in that. And material management may handling the proper inventory is the main challenge. I asked you what is the main challenge of material manager. You will say, sir, maintaining the proper inventory is the main challenge of material manager.
Okay.
Good quality product, good quality material, and in proper basically quantity. So quality and quantity of the material to be managed so that the process keeps running is the main challenge of material manager. In that, he is to deal with different stakeholders like service providers or suppliers, vendors. He need to be in contact with them to ensure quality. And since inventory is the basically money in stock, so that also you need to maintain the minimum level of inventory without hampering the proper flow of the process. So maintaining the proper flow of the product, the raw material to finished product, maintaining proper flow is the main challenge of material manager. उसको दिखना चाहिए कि raw material भी है, in process भी है, और finished product भी है, और flow maintain हो रहा, flow नहीं रुकना चाहिए, और flow maintain करने में उसको सारा manage करना पड़ेगा. Material manager का वो काम है. तो inventory is good or bad? It is good because it maintains the service. It is bad because money is in stock. तो पैसा invest होता है उसके ऊपर. Just in time concept is there where you ensure the service or flow with minimum inventory or no inventory. but for that you need to have logistic support, you need to have infrastructural support, like the service provider or the vendor supplier जो है he should be authentic and तो वो आपको provide करे, that is the important thing. Yes, now forecasting को inventory के साथ जोड़ो, because forecasting is proper idea of how much will be the demand. So accordingly you can go back and you can identify कितना raw material purchase करना है, कितना inventory चाहिए, and accordingly you can take the decision. So yes, forecasting is something which is very important. अगर आपसे पूछता है कि आजकल लेटेस्ट मटेरियल मैनेजमेंट में क्या कर सकते हैं, you can say sir, data science, artificial intelligence, these kind of new domains are helping in making good forecasting. प्रॉपर फोरकास्टिंग हम लोग कर रहे हैं, और फोरकास्टिंग अगर प्रॉपर है, साइंटिफिक है, डिमांड फोरकास्टिंग साइंटिफिक है, तो इन्वेंट्री मेंटेन करना इज इजी. अब जो दो मेन टॉपिक्स हैं जो यूरोपीडिया पैनल पे पढ़े होंगे, आई थिंक फोरकास्टिंग एंड इन्वेंट्री, उनको पढ़ना स्टार्ट करो. गेट द नॉलेज अबाउट इन्वेंट्री फोरकास्टिंग. यूट्यूब चैनल पे भी जो पढ़ा हुआ है इन्वेंट्री फोरकास्टिंग वो पढ़ो. बाकी जो डॉक्यूमेंट मैंने दिए है वो आप करते जाओ. उस डॉक्यूमेंट में इन्वेंट्री एंड फोरकास्टिंग डिटेल में नहीं है. टाइप्स ऑफ फोरकास्टिंग, रॉ मटेरियल फोरकास्टिंग, फिनिश्ड प्रोडक्ट फोरकास्टिंग, इन प्रोसेस इन्वेंट्री, इन प्रोसेस इन्वेंट्री, रॉ मटेरियल इन्वेंट्री, फिनिश्ड प्रोडक्ट इन्वेंट्री. फोरकास्टिंग के अलग अलग मॉडल, कौन कौन से मॉडल हम फोरकास्टिंग के लिए यूज करते हैं, व्हाट आर द टेक्निक्स फॉर फोरकास्टिंग, दोस थिंग्स यू प्लीज रीड एज पर दिस. conflict of interest is when in providing the service your self interest is basically coming in between, like the vendor or the supplier is your close relative, your brother, then conflict of interest का case आ सकता है उसमें. You can give example.
Sir, so should I give the only definition or associate an example, sir? I said
example
interest
always
of the individual
authentic.
and the organization.
Yes, examples always help you. Examples always help you. Wherever you can give examples, that is always beneficial. So you can do that.
So another one, sir, you asked a question, sir, that minimum number of tenders that you need in a government sector.
वो डाटा इकट्ठा करो. मेरे हिसाब से 3 हैं. I think 3.
अच्छा.
I think 3, and there is, I think, the whosoever will be the main trouble is जो सबसे कम कॉस्ट कोट कर देगा उसको बिडिंग मिल जाता है, उसको टेंडर मिल जाता है. ये सबसे बड़ी डिसएडवांटेज भी है. वाई? बिकॉज जो कम कोट करेगा शायद वो क्वालिटी ना दे. तो मटेरियल मैनेजर का मेन चैलेंज है कि पहले आपने वेंडर सप्लायर, ऑथेंटिक सप्लायर से बिडिंग या कोटेशन मंगवाया, फिर वो कोटेशन में जो सबसे कम कोटेशन है जिसका आई थिंक A1 या क्या बोलते हैं उसको, तो जो सबसे कम कोटेशन है L1, सॉरी लेवल 1, L1 जो है उसको मिल जाता है. अब L1 जो कम कॉस्ट कोट करेगा वो शायद क्वालिटी ना दे. तो ये मेन चैलेंज है आपके सामने. आई थिंक 3 कोटेशंस मिनिमम आर रिक्वायर्ड, और 3 को फिर फाइनलाइज करके आप कॉस्ट के बेस पे जो 3 आपके फाइनलिस्ट होते हैं उनमें फिर आप करवाते हो.
सर वो और एक क्वेश्चन था सर कि टाइप ऑफ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स के बारे में पढ़ना था सर, क्योंकि सर थोड़ा पुराना सर जो प्रीवियसली आस्क्ड क्वेश्चन था वो देख रहा था सर, तो किसी को पूछा गया था शायद ONGC MM इंटरव्यू में कि टाइप ऑफ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स क्या होता है, और वो लीस्ट कॉस्ट कॉन्ट्रैक्ट या कुछ था सर.
टाइप ऑफ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हमारे पास पड़ा हुआ है इंजीनियरिंग सर्विसेज के पेपर में, वो मैं प्रोवाइड करवा देता हूँ. टाइप ऑफ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स यस वो होता है. टाइप ऑफ
तो उसमें थोड़ा वो नॉन टर्न की और टर्न की कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वो पड़ा था सर. भाई नॉन टर्की का जो नॉन टर्न की कॉन्ट्रैक्ट से जो क्लासिफिकेशन होता है ना सर, वो समझ में नहीं आता सर. वो
लेट्स सी,
वो थोड़ा सा
देखो कुछ क्वेश्चन ऐसे हैं जिनको आप इनकार कर सकते हो कि सर नो आइडिया, डोंट वरी. कुछ ऐसे क्वेश्चन जरूर आएंगे, बट जो सिंपल क्वेश्चन है दैट यू शुड बी इन पोजीशन टू आंसर. So let's start preparing and let's see how it goes. Fine. Okay, Kaushik. Thank you.